Hi guys, I'm Amanda, the Botanical Brunette, and welcome to my plant tour. About 6 months ago, I filmed my very first plant tour. So this plant tour is going to be a bit of an update to that plant tour. In the matter of 6 months, I have been able to get so many plants, but I also lost a few along the way as well. And we're also coming to the end of a growing season, so you'll also be able to see some plants that I had in that plant tour that have completely blossom, and you'll see how kind of big they've grown in the growing season and kind of how they've changed throughout. Also, I like to do these plant tours just so you guys can see like where I place my plants. I know I show you guys a lot of my plants, especially in my plant haul videos, but you don't always get to see where these plants live unless I do like some kind of B-roll. I'm gonna show you guys exactly where all these plants live. I have about 90 plants, so let's just dive in and let's just check out all the plants that I have. But before we get into that, please like this video if you like this kind of content. And I'm almost to 1,000 subscribers, so if you like plant stuff and DIYs, please consider subscribing to my channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. Let's go check out all of my plants. Hey Rue, should we start with the plant shelf? Starting with the top shelf is this beauty with her freckled leaves. This plant, in my opinion, is so easy. Onto another easy plant. This Sansevieria is not super big, but has sprouted a few shoots in the last few months. Past this cute hello neon sign is my first ever peperomia. I got this one and I was just hooked. I could also say the same for this hoya, my very first hoya to add to my collection. I mean, how could you not love this foliage? On the next shelf is another hoya, but this one may be my favorite in my collection. Just look at that splash. The shiny leaves on this philodendron is so pretty. That's neem oil for you. Hello, new growth. This Bella popped off this year. It's grown so much since I got these little baby cuttings. I just can't wait for her to bloom one day. So I've never owned a palm, so this guy and I are still figuring each other out. But we got new growth, so I guess that's a good sign. This is a plant that, to be honest, I'm not super loving at the moment. It root rotted a few months back and lost its perfect round leaves, but I'm not giving up on it just yet. And you guessed it, another Hoya. This should actually be my Hoya shelf. I actually just now noticed that this guy has a little growth. This string of hearts is a newer plant in my collection. I got her for free at a grand opening at a plant nursery. She's got the cutest little leaves. I'll start the next shelf with the main attraction. This boy is one of my absolute favorites. Oh, and I spy a new leaf. Miranda has been showing off. She's been flowering all summer. Peeking through is my Alocasia Tiny Dancer. These leaves are so tiny and cute. So this Monsteransonii, I just threw a few cuttings in this planter and it just started growing. Hopefully it will attach to the moss pole soon. The only pink leaf I have on this plant, but it's so pretty. Back here in the most humid area is my Calathea vittata. It's next to the humidifier and on a pebble tray, and it still has crispy leaves. We're learning to just embrace it. These micans are doing really well too. They're traveling all over the shelf, even onto the next shelf. Speaking of next shelf, last October I put a single 4-leaf cutting in this planter for Halloween. Here we are today. I may need to cut this soon since it's almost touching the floor. And we're finally getting bigger leaves on this girl. This plant is all aboard the struggle bus, but we're finally rooting and it has no more black stem from when I got it, so that's a good sign. Hello, Brandy, and your new growth. I love the pattern on these leaves. So this plant may look rough, but you should have seen it a few months ago. Okay, so funny story. I found this cutting in my sink under a couple of dishes. I don't really know what it is. I think it's a tetrasperma, but I'm not 100% sure. So I actually don't think polka dot plants trail, but this one is trailing, but I'm not complaining. This used to be the land of unwanted plants. Don't worry, they all went to good homes. And now it's just home to all my desert plants and a hoya. So to the left of my plant shelf is this philodendron jungle boogie, or a philodendron tiger tooth. I've heard it called several different names. I love the jagged leaves on this guy. I had this plant in a southeast facing window, and I think it was burning the leaves because it turned orange, where I like the more darker green leaves that this plant is getting a little bit further from the window. So this planter used to house my sonii, but since my thrip outbreak, they had to be cut up. But I think that these Tridenscandias look great in this planter. To the right of my shelf is another easy plant that I can't seem to make happy. But it's gotten some new growth, so again, that's a good sign. Onto a plant that I can make happy is this begonia. This was a Lowe's rehab. It's just such a good feeling to be able to bring a plant back to life. Anyone who knows my story knows that my plant obsession started with this guy. This little DIY prop station has seen so many rounds of cuttings. I think I've finally figured out my silvery Ann. Its leaves aren't taco shaped as much anymore, except one, but I think I'm getting the hang of her. My record stand houses this pretty marble queen pothos. And next to it is this cute little air plant. In one of the cubbies is my philodendron Brazil. She gets great bright light from this spot. How could you not love the foliage? So, another thrift story. I had to give my Monstera Peru a good chop, but I'm glad that I could save just a few cuttings. And another prop station. Due to the bright indirect light that this spot gets, it's perfect for propagation. And on top on the other side, we have yet another air plant and this pretty long jade pothos. The window above, I have this sun catcher. This is the Gemini. I really wanted one for myself and for my plant room. These are still available in my shop. And last night I threw together this cute little air plant hanger. I love the combination of this plant hanger that I made and this plant. This Rhaphidoria is nearly 3 feet in height and has new growth coming out constantly. And back here is a semi-crispy calathea. And now my all-time favorite, I just can't get enough of this beauty. The newer leaves that are coming on this plant look like little ears, and I cannot get enough. They kill me. Once this plant hits maturity, it will look so different. The leaves will start splitting and getting a lot wider. My cream splash / silver stripe cuttings may look a little different. They are doing so well so far. Despite the thrip chewed leaves, it gives it character. I recently chopped this Birkin and it's rewarded me with these big, beautiful leaves. Unlike the all-white, wrinkled leaves it used to give me. Speaking of chop, I decided I wanted to trail my Stanleyana, but then I decided I didn't like the way that it looked. So I'm sort of starting over with these props. And here is another new plant in my collection. This variegated beauty has such pretty foliage. Just like this one. I brought that alocasia home and I was like, it looks so much like my syngonium. Guess I'm at the point in my collection where I'm now buying plants that look like each other. And yet another thrip house. My Monstera was infested, so I lost about half of it, but it gives me a chance to start over and make this one a little bit fuller. And it's growing great roots so far. Monsteras for me are super easy to root. And the biggest baby in my home is this guy. And the word baby has multiple uses in this case. My fiddle leaf is around 4 feet tall. I need to get a bigger pot. It didn't actually grow too much this season, so I think it might be root bound. Ugh, Brew didn't pick up his toys. But here's my boa, another jagged leafy plant. I honestly bought it for the stripy stems. And these cuties are sitting on my TV stand. So I think this bird of paradise hates me now. I repotted it and it was so mad it curled up for almost a month. I learned that they don't like their root ball messed with, and there I went, removing all of the soil. So it gave me these ugly marks on the leaves. But one thing to remember is we all make mistakes. She's so beautiful though. Let's normalize normal plants. And we have this little new growth, so I think she has forgiven me. On these floating shelves are some lower light plants. And also some Monstera and Sonii cuttings. Down here is this pretty Dracaena. Okay, here we go with this one. So this plant is a newly found thrift house. This plant actually used to trail all over this wall, but I've had to treat it so many times that one day I just kind of threw the trail on top of the circle, and I love the way it looked. Oh, my shiny, metallic-y, beautiful cebu. I just love the leaves on this plant. It's just so pretty. This pothos is in my Hilton Carter planter. Over to my bar area, we have some more low light plants. This poor ZZ plant is probably pretty root bound too, since I haven't had any growth on it all spring and summer. I just love the leaves on this plant though. It's so basic, yet so pretty. The kitchen counter area is pretty much a propagation area as well. I find that even though it's not a super bright area, I still get a lot of good root action. And onto my dining table, I have this cute little mini fiddle-leaf fig. Over by my door, I have this pretty little anthurium. This plant is the last man standing in my leca days. I don't have any more plants in leca, but this plant seems to love it, so I'll keep it in there for now. By my front door is a big regal shield. These leaves are humongo. Once we get the pests under control, I might move it into my plant area, that way it can get a little more sun. But for now, it's so pretty right here. So if you're noticing like powder on this plant, it's DE. This plant has had a bad case of mealies, so I'm trying anything. This is my favorite leaf on this plant. And can't forget about this aloe from my cacti and succulent days. And over to where the magic happens, and when I say magic, I mean my blogs and YouTube videos. These plants over here are super sun loving. They get a lot of bright light from the southeast facing window. And you might be wondering what this is. This is actually a fiddle leaf fig stump. My camera isn't focusing, but if you can see like really closely, there's like a little green nub. So this hoya is pretty interesting because it's a queen and a princess. The princess has green on the edges, and the queen has green on the inside. And it's growing from the queen, so I don't know. Surprise! I have another sun catcher. I had to make one from my office area since I'm here half the time. It's so pretty when it sprinkles rainbows all over this moonlight. And I have some cuttings here. And last but not least, this adorable watermelon peperomia. So that is it. That is my plant tour. That is where like all my plants live. You got to see every single plant that I have in my collection. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite plant was, or if you have any questions or anything, I would be happy to talk planty with you guys. So again, please leave a comment below if you'd like, or even if you just want to say hi, that's totally fine. I love to meet all my subscribers and all these lovely planty people. But that's it for today. I hope you guys all have a great day and stay botanical.